Hi, I'm Amy Barnhart, and this is Dr. Dana Fillmore, clinical psychologist and marriage and family expert, and author of Happily Ever After: How to Be Happily Married to the One You Already Married. Welcome back to our regular series where we'll be answering your questions. So let's get right to it. This next question comes from Nate, and he says that my wife gets angry and goes to her room and will not speak to me and says, "Just leave me alone." The problem is that she won't speak about the issue for several days, and those days are a living hell for me. I go through the fear of her being in there deciding to leave me. How do I go away and give her space without being afraid of her leaving?
Wow, it is tough. Withdrawal is one of the most painful things we can do in a relationship to our partner. At the same time, I do think that withdrawal is the appropriate action when we're going to do damage. Mm-hmm. In other words, if we're going to say something that we're going to regret, if we're going to just come out and lash out, I do think taking a break, taking some time, cooling off, and really, getting those feelings under control before you have those conversations is a good idea. 2 or 3 days sounds like punishment to me. That doesn't sound like she's taking time to cool off. It sounds like I'm going to make you hurt for whatever it is you just did, and then by the time we have this conversation, you will do whatever I want. So it feels very manipulative to me.
It's kind of punitive, huh?
It feels very punitive to me. I mean, we need a couple hours to cool down. We don't need a couple days to cool down. So it feels like to some degree that's somewhat on purpose. That and again, I haven't talked to them or her, but I mean, maybe she has a temper that she needs 3 days to cool off, but. Probably she's just trying to that's a dance that they do, that she pulls away, he feels bad, and then eventually when they have the conversation, he's sort of like, okay, well, I'll do whatever you want because you're not leaving me.
And he's petrified, right? So at this point, he is going to be... Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that's going to backfire with her. Or potentially backfire with her, because that gets old, and after a while you can leave somebody long enough, and I'm not saying that he would do this, I'm sure he's an honorable man, but you become vulnerable to someone else who's not punishing you coming along, someone telling you you're a great husband, someone telling you you're a great man. It's a dangerous state to leave your relationship in that kind of limbo for any length of time. And then I have a part 2 to that conversation, which is the alternative for me, and I know it could be, I'm saying either or, the alternative is that she doesn't feel safe having conversations with him. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we withdraw and we are not going to talk about it because we feel like if we start to talk about it, you're going to give me a lot of excuses. You're going to tell me why I'm wrong. You're going to tell me all of the reasons why I shouldn't feel that way. You're going to tell me,
That's sort of the whole point about gracefully accepting a concession, and all that we talk about in our system.
Right, exactly. Sometimes people don't have those conversations because they feel like they're not going to get them anywhere. So so sometimes people retreat and they'll go through the whole conversation themselves in their own heads. Well, I would say this, and then he would say that, and then I would say this, and he'd probably say that. And then, they end up with, but they're not often right about the conclusions.
Right.
And they come out with a fact of how this whole thing would have gone down when in actuality they never actually had that conversation with that person. So again, not a great policy. I would really highly recommend, again, I've said this 1,000 times, communication is a learned skill. Right. Communication is not just talking. We all learned how to talk when we were a year old. That's not what it's about. It's about learning how to exchange ideas, hear each other, understand each other, learning how to fight effectively. Communication has so many components that just most of us were not taught. I was not taught. Right. I had to learn it later in life.
Right.
I had to learn it after I was married. I had to learn it in graduate school. We've told the story before about how I had to figure out how to communicate to save my own marriage.
Right.
So, it really, I would recommend that if only one person does it, that would be fine. But if they can both sit down and learn how to communicate, even before she comes out of the bedroom and has these conversations, because just coming out of the bedroom and ineffectively communicating isn't going to solve anything.
Right.
So really, maybe, again, having him get a hold of that information in some way, or hopefully he's already bought the system and going over that communication stuff so that she starts to feel safe having those conversations. And then, unfortunately, also someone's going to have to call her out on the whole punishing, possibly manipulating part of the whole thing and how ineffective that is and dangerous that is.
And, Is Nate the right person to call her out on that?
If Nate can get her this video, that would be much better, actually. Yeah. much nicer for him.
How would Nate? How would you recommend that Nate, regains power and
power is covered in the system as well. So if you wanted to take a look at that section, and I believe it's in the communication section actually about how withholding forgiveness is a form of maintaining power, which in fact what she's doing. It's in the forgiveness
videos, yeah.
Right. So if he can get that information to her, would be really, really helpful. And you're right, you're absolutely right. It does tend to help from hearing it from a third party. Couples come to me all the time, and I'll say something, and the other person will have an epiphany, and the one partner says, I've been telling you that for years. But it does somehow help to have it come from a third party or a doctor or something like that. So any way that he can get that information to her. Not at the time that she's mad, by the way, Nate, not while she's mad. No, like wait until they're sort of in a good space, maybe spending their alone time together, and just kind of point that out and say, honey, this is how I feel. This is what I think you might be doing. So I would recommend that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you'd like your question answered, please ask it in the comment box below, because this is a regular series and we want to help as many people as we can. And if you'd like even more powerful free relationship advice from Dr. Dana, click on the link below the video. Thanks so much for watching.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for watching. To get more free marriage help from Dr. Dana, please check out our website at www.strongmarriagenow.com. If you want to know when we post new videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the link right on this video. If you've got questions for Dr. Dana or just want to share your opinion, please comment below. Dr. Dana's got lots more marriage transforming videos for you. Here are the links to a few that you may want to see. Again, you can click right on the link you see in the video. And finally, if you know of anyone else that needs help with their marriage, if there's anyone you care about that could benefit from some powerful relationship advice, please help them by clicking on the share button below this video or tell them about our website, www.strongmarriagenow.com. Here are links to even more marriage-saving videos for you. Click on any of these images on the video to check them out. Thanks again for watching.